Hello, everyone. Welcome to another exciting episode of Side Stories.
Hello.
As always, Aaron. This is my co-host today.
I'm Ryan Mooney.
Hello, everyone, one and all. Today, we're going to continue our series on Woodstock. We're going to be wrapping up the whole series that we've been having here so far. So,
Gonna put all the big kit and caboodle into one bag and then kick it in a river.
yes, it's the last episode of the Woodstock series. So, we're going to be talking about the Woodstocks that did and didn't happen. So, after we exited on Woodstock 99, which is where we left off last time, in our second episode, by the way, go watch the first one on the original Woodstock, then the 79 and 89 shows, and then 94 and 99 were last episode. So, shameless plug there. So, go watch them. They were good.
I thought they were excellent.
They were good. I really like those episodes. So, please, if you haven't already, go ahead and listen to them if you wish to know more about the Woodstock, because we're going to be pulling a lot from those episodes because we are wrapping things up today.
This is the final in our trilogy, listeners.
Yes, it is. So, we will be drawing on plenty of information from the past episodes, especially of returning persons of interest who are involved in this story. So if you have not seen those other episodes and you wish to know what we're talking about today, you need a little more of a primer, go watch those first.
Excelsior, listeners. You'll remember this from episode 92 in Spider-Man.
Gosh. I wish I was able to do that.
I wish I could
remember
do the
what
Stan Lee.
episode it was, and this was the episode we talked about Julius Caesar and Rome, and I can relate this to Woodstock somehow, but I'm not that good. But
someday.
anyways, we're working on somewhat limited time today, so let's just get right down to it. So Woodstock, as we all know, big concert festival. It was kind of a big deal.
What?
I know, right? Crazy. But after Woodstock 99, there hasn't been another official major Woodstock festival since. Woodstock 99 was the last time they ever ran this experiment, though that hasn't been from lack of trying, which is what we're talking about today.
Let's go.
All right, let's dive right into this. So I did want to note real quick that there are, of course, music festivals might be bigger than they've ever been right now.
Well, you've got Coachella, Burning Man,
Rock in Rio.
Yeah. There's the emo one that happens every year that I can never remember the name of.
There was the Pole and Rock Festival,
which
I mentioned
you'll remember
in the last
from
episode.
our first episode, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for listening.
Yes, I believe it was the second episode I mentioned on
Did
that.
we do that the second?
I think
from
it
the
was the
second
second.
episode, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for listening.
You were so close.
I said it with enough confidence.
I mean, that's respectable.
Thank you.
Big as they've ever been, right? Everyone seems to go to at least one festival at some point in their lives. It seems to be kind of just a common thing now. So it's interesting that Woodstock, despite all of the attempts to bring it back, has just failed in this current modern era where it should be easier to have a festival than ever. It has not been able to put it together. So why might that be? We're going to find out. But first, I did want to mention one small thing, because I thought it was very interesting. I did not get a chance to mention it in the 1999 episode. Have you ever heard of the Bethel Woods Center for the Arts?
No.
Okay, so the Bethel Woods Center for the Arts is a art facility and museum. Basically, it's a huge venue for concerts and gatherings and festivals built on the exact location where the original Woodstock was.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, and I had a little bit of research I did on that just because it was very interesting to find out. Basically, it was started by people who were just Woodstock fans, I guess, or there was some developers and all that. It's a $150 million multi-venue center. Again, also includes a museum.
Gotcha.
Before the center was built, there was what was called a Day in the Garden Music Festival that was held in 1998 and 1999, with the 1999 music festival stretching for 4 days. Both these were held on the anniversary of Woodstock. So instead of dying at the Air Force Base in 1999, you could have been having a nice, pleasant little vacation in Bethel, New York at this location instead. So
what a lovely way to spend
that
time
was
with
the
family.
alternate Woodstock 99 as a sort of thing. And I don't believe any of the people who are developers and involved in the making of the Bethel Woods Center I don't think they have any actual direct relation to Michael Lang or Woodstock Ventures or anything like that. But
just kind of trying to keep the
energy spirit alive. Yes, and they've been around for a while again. But it was after their festival in 1999, they built and completed in 2006 the Bethel Woods Center for the Arts. And in 2008, that's when they opened the museum. Basically, if you want to look at it online, again, they have a website. They have some beautiful photos that are taken of the place. It looks gorgeous, especially a lot of them are taken in autumn in New York, in upstate New York, and
it's
gorgeous. Really, and if you're someone who's kind of in our area, in the Fargo-Moorhead sort of area of North Dakota here, if you've ever been to a Blue Stem Amphitheater in Moorhead, kind of imagine that, but just much larger. It's even the same basic shape. It's kind of got that outdoor concert.
Amphitheater.
Yes, it's like an amphitheater is the main pavilion. They also have some smaller, I think, kind of ballrooms and things like that everywhere. The pavilion, I believe, fits 15,000 people. That's what I found online. Not sure if that's just seated or also counting the grass bowl in the background.
Okay.
But basically, they have seats, and then they have a big grass bowl, and it's kind of dug into the ground, and they have the amphitheater style. Very wooden-looking structure. Probably has really great sound quality. Again, looks really, really cool. And then there's also other smaller venues there. And they also have the Yosker Farm Cafe, named after Max Yosker, who was the owner of the land where the original Woodstock Festival took place. Yeah, I wanted to mention this spot because they tend to have like commemorations for Woodstock. Maybe not every year, but at least on the big anniversary dates for sure. And I just want to mention that because it's a really interesting location where they've really tried to preserve the site of the original Woodstock and keep it as close to like the original space as possible, while also still making it a place for people to gather and just making it a spot where like you can kind of continue to live that Woodstock sort of dream of keeping love and happiness and art alive. And
it's the Hunter S. Thompson quote where you can go up on a really high hill and you can look and you can almost see the high water mark where it rose and then the tide turned back.
Yes, and the high water mark was the Bethel Woods Center in my opinion, because this is easily the best designed, best planned thing that's at all
ever to be associated with
Woodstock in even the most limited way possible. So if nothing else, at least Woodstock, for all its faults and disasters, led to the creation of this amazing place. And again, it's gorgeous. There are plenty of events and shows there all the time. And I had to, out of sheer curiosity, look at their event list for this year because I was very, very curious.
Absolutely.
And Ryan. Ryan. Well, first off, let me give you an idea of some of the events that will be happening this year. There is going to be a craft beer and music festival. There will be concerts by Jim Messina, Hootie and the Blowfish, Leonard Skinner, plus the Outlaws. Pretty solid, right? Good.
Yeah,
nice
that's
big
pretty
shows.
solid.
But Ryan, live on July 26, 2024, Limp Bizkit will be performing at the I found it. Yes, I didn't know this until I did research for this particular episode.
Oh my god.
They will be there this year.
We have to go.
We have to go, right?
We have to go.
We
it's
have
practically
to go.
a pilgrimage.
Yes, so I just had to mention that
Thank
because it's coming up.
I'm glad we have a little bit of time.
We've
got just enough time for that.
Yes, and speaking of time, that's going to be one of the problems the other failed Woodstocks are going to run into. So just wanted to mention the Bethel Woods quickly because, again, it's a very interesting spot. It's so cute. I wish I could show like a picture of it, but in podcast form, obviously I can't. But just look it up.
Paint a picture with your words, Aaron.
Well, it's gorgeous. Imagine the sweet autumn in upstate New York with the lush reds and the deep dark golds of the leaves falling off as Limp Bizkit performs in the distance, even though they're coming in summer.
Rolling, what?
Yes. Oh, it's gorgeous.
Hands up and hands down.
It's there you go.
Yeah. All right. I'm in. I'm sold.
And there's also recreation centers and stuff at this place too. But yes, just wanted to mention Bethel Woods. Great spot. Go to there. I'm in no way associated with them in any ways. I just thought it was cool and wanted to mention it. So check it out. But now we get to our main programming for the day. There were no serious attempts at bringing back Woodstock until 2009, it seems.
Until 2009.
There was no obligatory Woodstock 2000 because anything that happened in the year 2000 needed to be called 2000. And also they rushed things out into production because it was the year 2000 and that was the trend.
Yep, absolutely.
You may have noticed,
millennium.
Yes, you may have noticed this looking back on that era, or if you were alive. There were many suddenly branded 2000 things, or things that you thought were dead and gone, suddenly coming back because it's a new millennium. There was no attempt with that Woodstock, probably because it just was off the heels of Woodstock 99, and that was one already hard enough to put on, and two became a giant mess. So
yeah, kind of what's the phrase, Pete on the parade?
Yeah, little bit. I couldn't find any plans, at least any major ones, for a Woodstock 35. They had Woodstock 25 and 94. I couldn't find anything for 35, so I'm assuming
they were just kind of like let's just not.
I'm assuming there were no if there was anything, they fizzled out without anyone noticing. So I'm assuming they didn't exist. But
what a shocker.
Now we're getting into the 40th anniversary for 2009. This is when the story starts to get a little bit more interesting.
Oh?
Because there wasn't a festival, but there was a surprising amount of things that happened.
Okay.
So I'm going to try to go over them quick.
Hell yeah.
There was, of course, the 40th anniversary box set called Woodstock 40 Years On, Back to the Oscars Farm, which was put up by Rhino Records, which is, of course, owned by Warner.
Yeah, all right.
Which, as we know from our previous episodes, owns the rights to the music and film footage from Woodstock. And I did double check it. It seems like pretty much all official releases of music to this day are through Warner in some way or another, so they still have it. Box set includes 6 CDs full of performances, yada yada. It looks interesting enough.
You know what's weird? I think I actually can vaguely remember seeing advertisements for this back in 2000.
You probably can. I think it was somewhat of a big thing because a lot of the complete recordings, it's not complete as it's not all the recordings for Woodstock, but it's a lot of them. I think it features at least one song by every band there. I think there's 1 or 2 bands missing, but it's pretty much everybody.
Cool.
Which is more complete than really any of the other records up to that time.
Oh, yeah.
There's since been later ones, I think, have more of the recordings, but at the time it was pretty big deal, and you could still find it being sold online, if not new and used condition at least. So, and they fetch decent prices. If anyone is like trying to vaguely remember if they saw this at a Best Buy at some time in 2009. It has the American flag with a peace symbol instead of the stars, so it's one big peace symbol.
Yep,
Does that ring a few bells?
Ring some bells here. Yep, I can remember the cheesy TV commercials like coming on at like 10 o'clock at night when I'd watch 2.5 Men or something with my ma.
So there you go. That was a thing. There was also the film musical Taking Woodstock, which came out that year, ended up being a box office bomb, but that was kind of a cash-in on the whole phenomenon as well, which is apparently based on a book of someone who was actually at Woodstock, I think one of the attendees.
Oh, okay.
This is also the year, speaking of books, that Michael Lang's book, The Road to Woodstock, was published.
Michael Lang made a book?
Yes, he did.
That's hilarious.
Yes, it's all about his journey to producing Woodstock. So.
Okay.
And I think it was later revised and updated like a year or two after. But yeah, the 2009 is when it was originally published. So there was a lot of just kind of like talk about Woodstock. There wasn't a whole lot of like really big events, but there was a little bit going on.
Like I can remember being alive at that point in time, and like Woodstock was weirdly back in the zeitgeist at that point in time.
Now, the interesting thing about this is that I don't want to say there was more written about it just objectively, because I'm not sure, because obviously older articles about, like Woodstock nostalgia would have come from much more pre-internet or really early internet days. So I don't know if more people were just writing about Woodstock in 2009 because, 40 years on, it's become kind of a talking point now and people want to learn more about it. And there's that sort of, boomer nostalgia for it.
Yeah.
Or if it was just easier to write about because the internet and I can find the articles faster.
Right.
There's always been like retrospective articles, but it seems like with 2009, a lot of them came out. So again, I'm not sure if it's just my my sample size just biased because it's easier to access because internet, or if there's just legitimately more. But either way, there were a lot. I do know that. A lot of nostalgia was going on at this time, so it's interesting.
Well, and that was kind of the 2000s in general. So the early 2000s in general. That makes sense.
Yeah, because it was interesting how much more people seemed to be talking about it, or at least we can confirm people talked about it. Which is always interesting to me to compare things that started pre-internet and then, once the internet's been around, how that changes their legacy. Yeah. It's really interesting to think about. Just what the perception of Woodstock is now compared to 1998 or 5.
Yeah, and then you get you think about how perspective shapes things and hindsight with a lot of that stuff, and how the internet, you have so much more access to videos and articles. And
you can watch the original Woodstock all on YouTube.
You don't just have to take people's words for it. You can just I want to see what so and so's performance was like. Oh, there it is. Okay, cool.
There's Hendrix. You can just do that now.
Yep.
So I'm sure that helped too, especially because this was right around on YouTube and everything was starting to get big, so it just kind of corresponded with that. So I wouldn't doubt this was all kind of a good environment for Woodstock nostalgia to kind of come back.
Makes sense.
And then there was an attempt at staging a 40th anniversary Woodstock.
Oh, goody.
By our dear friend Michael Lang.
Oh, goody.
It was to be held at Prospect Park in Brooklyn. He wanted it to be tied to climate change as a social issue.
Of course he did.
And the funding wasn't there. He also
of course it wasn't.
floated a festival around Earth Month in April, but none of his ideas stuck, so no major festival was held.
What? Oh, poor Michael.
It basically sounds like he kept trying, and for whatever reason, nothing happened. There is some speculation Woodstock 99 kind of killed the mood on that one.
You think?
It's hard to say it didn't, but Michael Lang, of course, in his ever optimistic way of saying and spinning things, said, it's fine. No, we're okay.
Not for nothing. He is kind of the cliche of what you think of when you think of a hippie. So,
he was always maybe a little too overly optimistic. This is what we call foreshadowing.
Well, look at all these shadows around us, Aaron. That's wild.
However, even though there was not a festival, there was still an official commemoration of the 40th anniversary in 2009. This was actually pretty interesting.
Oh, really?
It was called the Heroes of Woodstock Tour, and it was licensed by Woodstock Ventures, LLC, and Michael Lang, so it was an official event. So there was officially a Woodstock 2009.
So it's officially canon.
It is. It indeed is. It's more official than 1989, which is the biggest unofficial event we've ever covered.
Which is so funny.
Yeah, because that one went shockingly well. The tour featured artists from the original show coming back together, again, much like the reunion shows in 1979, though with a little bit more star power and special guests, because there was more than one show.
All right, okay.
So the main acts were, again, Canned Heat, because they show up to literally everything.
Yeah,
you got to give it
that seems to be the running theme. I think every time we've talked about Woodstock, they come up somehow in the conversation.
Canned Heat's they're always around, I guess.
I like the idea that Canned Heat's just kind of chilling in a garage somewhere one day, and they're like, hey, guys, what's up? We're getting the band back together. You mean Woodstock? Woodstock. And
honestly,
they're just like, sign us up. Let's go.
It sounds pretty accurate given what I know about Canned Heat, which isn't a ton, but just enough.
I'm willing to bet as long as they spell their name right on the check. They're like, yeah, we'll show up, absolutely.
Probably. I mean, they don't seem to be turning anything down at all. So I think
good for them.
Would be
good for them.
Solid enough. I think that's probably a good use of their time at this point.
I mean, I really don't mean to be rude, but it's canned heat. What else were they doing in 2009?
Probably not much else. Also, there's Big Brother and the Holding Company was there. Country
Cool.
Joe McDonald, who always shows up.
Yep.
Jefferson Starship.
That's kind of surprising.
John Sebastian and Tom Constantin from the Grateful Dead was also there.
I did not think they were still alive at this point.
The Grateful Dead?
Well, yes, that part too, but mostly those two in specific.
Oh, well, at least I think they're both still alive, actually.
I thought they died years ago.
Tom Constantin for sure is still alive. I guess I didn't double check on John Sebastian, but I think he's alive.
Way to go, guys. Proud of you.
Mm-hmm. Also, 10 years after, the band also joined for most of the shows as well.
Cool.
And there was, in fact, a show held at the Bethel Woods on the anniversary date of the original festival on August 15th, which featured a number of other guests such as Mountain. In fact, Mountain guitarist Leslie West married his fiancée at the end of their set.
That's actually really sweet.
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool.
So, yeah, not much else to really say about Woodstock 40 other than they played mostly kind of like East Coast, West Coast shows. I think the most like inland one was in like Michigan.
Oh, okay.
That's kind of how this goes. But I think they played 15 or 16 shows, and yeah,
Interesting.
they had a one-leg tour. Things went well. From what I understand, reviews were generally favorable. And you got a free download of the soundboard recording of the show you attended with a purchase of a ticket.
That actually is awesome.
Yes, that's pretty neat, right?
That's really cool. I wish they did that at more shows.
I know, you think that'd be standard by now. They were doing this in 2009. Like, that's kind of ahead
really
of the curve.
Cool.
Yeah.
Huh.
Out of all the official Woodstocks, this is the only one that actually went back to the original festival site, because 79, 94, 99 were not held there, and 1989 was unofficial. So this is the only one that actually kind of did it right. No one died. It actually was probably the best plan because it was just a small tour. They actually had it on day of, people ready to attend. A wedding went well.
Wow.
This honestly might be the best Woodstock out
yeah,
of all
this
of
is
them.
out of all the ones we've talked about, far and away, this is the one we can most call an unabashed success.
Yeah, so
way to go, guys.
There you
it
go.
took you, what, 5 times to get the formula right?
Roughly.
But you got there in the end. That's the important part.
Do you want to hear about how they threw all that goodwill away in 2019?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Let's go.
Okay. So, yes, 2009 was a rousing success. I mean, okay, it didn't light the world on fire, but good.
Right. It happened, and no one died. That, for Woodstock, that's a success.
Woodstock 40, shockingly a good show. Woodstock 50. This is where things start to go a little bit worse. So,
what did they do? What happened?
Well, it all starts actually in the fascinating year of 2014.
Oh, no.
Which, again, roughly about 5 years after the rousing success of 2009. Our dear friend Michael Lang. He was once again back.
Mikey boy.
So was Woodstock. Or at least that was the idea, right?
Mm-hmm.
Woodstock 50 was supposed to be the ultimate celebration of the festival's legacy. In fact, Lang started talking about it again in 2014. 5 years before the event was supposed to take place. For once, he was planning ahead.
Huh.
I know.
That's actually a really good point.
Yes.
Weird.
He was very much planning this ahead. And it's weird that this one was
Do you think he sobered up a little bit and figured out how to think ahead?
I want to say yes, but in my heart of hearts, I think the answer is no.
No. Do you think he just ran out for like a week and was able to think ahead and then he found the drugs again?
I don't know him personally, so I can't confirm, but
Fair enough.
It is possible, and that's actually a very, very funny little segue here.
Oh, let's go.
So, well, let's just say that I had a little...
Uh-huh.
I'll get to the drug thing in a second.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
I don't want to jump ahead.
You're good.
I don't want to jump ahead.
It's my fault. Take your time.
No. Well,
this is your story.
We'll get there. So there were high hopes that this would avoid all the issues that plagued the Woodstocks, right? But before I go too deep into this, I do want to say that with this failed Woodstock, we have many of the nitty-gritty business details accessible to us via the internet.
Oh, good.
So I don't want to get lost in every single turn of this story because, trust me, you can find very long articles detailing every little thing.
What?
But
oh my God, is this like a Stephen King novel?
It kind of is. It's quite long against some of these articles. But
let's go.
But given the amount of people and money involved in this event, it does kind of evolve into a little bit of he said, she said.
Right. Of course, as these things go.
I'm sure that they will continue to drop more details as years go on because this was supposed to be a really big thing. A lot of money was thrown away.
Mm-hmm.
So because we're getting on this a little bit early, because I haven't seen too many retrospectives of Woodstock 50. We're getting in this a little bit early, so I just want to point that out. That
you
again,
kids ready for the deep dives,
well,
the real tea?
What I'm going to do here is give you the rundown of the plans for Woodstock 50, why it failed, and wrap up the story of Woodstock as a whole. We're going to get pretty deep into it, but trust me, I will, again, as always, I will cite the sources. They'll be in. If you want the really long version, it's in the description. If you want the best condensed version of a long story I can give you, which will still be hopefully long, insightful, and fun, and horrifying, You got it.
You got this. You're in the right spot, kids.
Let's start with my thesis statement today,
Let's
kids.
do this.
The big issues that killed Woodstock 50 were 1. Bad communication between the partners intent on creating the festival. 2. Licensing and permit issues related to venues and local governments. And 3. Way too much money being spent on artists before things like location and facilities were figured out. Oh, and of course, 4. They were doing this with very little time.
But wait, hold on a minute.
The same problems that plagued all the other Woodstocks, but this is well, unless you count, like, the attempt at Woodstock 2 in 1970 and all that other stuff. This is the only Woodstock that was not just like a concept, but brought and had actual business deals and real big plans made for it that utterly died on the vine.
All right,
this
let's
is
go.
the only one.
Can I just circle back for one quick second?
Sure, let's get to it.
Literally a paragraph ago,
Mm-hmm.
we said that they had 5 years to think ahead of this.
Yes.
And now part of our thesis statement is that they had, as usual, very little time to plan this.
It'll make sense.
No, I just wanted to say how much I love the oxymoron because I knew something like this was going to happen. I was just waiting for it.
The sad thing is it's an oxymoron created by the people who had the time and then threw it away.
Yep.
So,
I would say I'm surprised, but I listened to the last 2 episodes, listeners. And
as
so
you
I'm
should.
Not.
So Lang, as usual, had really big ideas they want to make reality. Pretty much the entire story of this whole saga of Woodstock, right?
Oh, my God.
So what we know from the earliest concepts, or at least the things that were kind of kicking around in his head.
Oh, God.
For Woodstock 50, Lang had scouted doing the festival in Colorado. And this is where drugs come in, because legal weed was a major contributing factor to that idea.
Let's go.
That's a great way to start planning your iconic music festival, right?
Absolutely, that's the first thing
that
you should
can't
be
go
about.
wrong, right?
There's no way that can possibly end.
These
in a
are
bad.
very serious people, right?
Absolutely.
You can see why this didn't work.
You can hear the sarcasm in our voice.
Lang now also may have wanted to set up a permanent venue where he could hold the festival and other future shows.
I'm sorry, what?
But eventually the idea was scrapped because he wanted anything he did for Woodstock to be in New York State, at least at that time.
Michael, make up your mind, for God's sakes. You have 5 years.
The reason I say that maybe he was thinking that is because it comes from basically the guy who was the photographer for the original Woodstock said that Lang was kicking around all these ideas.
Yep.
And Lang did confirm he thought about Colorado, where he drops the weed line.
Right, of course.
He says that. But he doesn't confirm he for sure wanted a permanent site, at least not in all the articles and stuff I read. But I have a feeling that's true.
Yeah.
So I included it because it sounds like him.
Absolutely.
Just full disclosure there. But. Oh, Ryan.
Oh, yeah?
He wanted Woodstock 50 to offer top pop, rock, and hip-hop acts.
That's a weird tongue twister, and
yes,
I like it.
It is. Along with Woodstock alumni from the original festival.
Of course.
But you kind of have to. Like, okay, that makes sense.
I'm going to say it. Do you really?
I mean, it's kind of hard to say no to them.
50 years later. How many times? Listen, I love canned heat as much as the next guy.
Yes.
Put them in a nursing home, for God's sakes. We don't need to keep reviving them.
They're not as old as the Rolling Stones, Ryan, and they're still out there.
I'm just saying, like, if you don't need to, you know? Like, you can do a new thing.
Yeah, but to be fair, that's what he is going for. He wants all the top acts, plus the old... Because you gotta invite... Come on.
I get it. It's the legacy.
Especially because you're coming 10 years off of the last reunion tour. Like, you can't kick them to the curb now. They've been with you for 50 years.
I guess.
That'd be a jerk move.
All right.
However, it was also a jerk move because it's interesting to note that artists from Woodstock's 94 and 99 didn't get brought up much at all in the whole reading I've done of this.
Gee, I wonder why.
He seems like he wanted to focus on the alumni from Woodstock and the contemporary artists. He seems to have given very little thought to anyone from 94 or 99. You know, those two ones that actually, one that went well. Seems like that would be a good idea. I mean, there's still huge star power in 94 and 99 you could have easily pulled from.
But that wouldn't be in the spirit of Woodstock, Aaron.
Yeah,
you need to get Canned Heat back for the 5th time.
I mean,
and also maybe like Dr. Hook and his Medicine Show or some other random band from the 60s that nobody nowadays other than me and you has ever heard of.
I mean, you got me there. It's polite to ask them,
It is, but you're completely correct. It would have been nice.
But I just find it funny that this was very much meant to be a modern Woodstock, not a celebration of all of Woodstock.
This wasn't your grandpa's Woodstock.
That's not exactly what he's going for, but it's close because, and of course he wants to have the social activism thing thrown in there. He wanted to have mentions about climate change and voting and stuff in there. It's like, yeah, okay,
all right,
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, Yeah, I know. So in 2017 is when he started to begin seriously planning for Woodstock.
Oh
so
my God, that's 3 years later.
Shaved 3 years off, I guess
What were you doing for those 3 years, Michael?
I wish I could tell you. It seems like he was just kind of running around doing Woodstock nostalgia stuff. And
Probably lots of drugs.
Yes. I mean, I don't want to defame Michael Lang's good name, but
no, it's not defaming if it's statistically
he also mentioned
true.
illegal weed being a big reason he wanted to have it in Colorado. He's putting himself in the corner. Okay,
we're not profiling. He profiled himself.
He literally just told us who he was. It's pattern recognition. Okay.
All we're doing is literally just sharing information that we have taken from a credible source himself and telling it to our audience. And we're not guilty here.
We followed this man through 50 years of history. Over 50 years.
Yeah.
We have a read on him.
Yeah, I think we're good. I think we're okay on this one.
So yes, 2017 he's being seriously planning. After 3 years of apparently not seriously planning.
Yeah, kind of loafing around on a couch and spitballing ideas, I guess.
Probably accurate. Again, I'm just telling you the truth. And the goal to hold the festival on the 50th anniversary of the original Woodstock, which places the target dates in August 2019. The exact dates vary because it switches a little bit, but they're basically aiming for August 16th, which I believe is the Saturday that weekend.
Okay.
So they're aiming for August 16th, 2019. More or less.
Okay.
And they have time, right? They have about 2 years.
That's 2 years. That's still pretty good time.
That's plenty of time. So Lang is set on having the festival at the Watkins Glen International Speedway.
Oh, boy.
Which has hosted basically every form of motorsport, and also hosted Summer Jam in 1963, which was a huge concert festival attended by over 600,000 people. Higher than most estimates for Woodstock, actually.
Okay, I'm going to be honest. When I heard that he was hosting it at a speedway, I immediately was like, did you not learn about 99? Did you not learn the lesson? But okay, nope, there's precedent here.
This was not Altamont.
This is a good idea, sort of.
Summer Jam actually at one point held the record for most attendance of a pop festival.
Cool.
So
okay.
It actually seems like, good place to have it.
Yeah,
right?
No,
all
right.
Well.
Yeah, I see it. I see the idea.
Also, one of the headliners for Summer Jam, fun fact, was Allman Brothers. There you go. There you are. Among many others, of course, but just to kind of give you an idea of who was showing up at that show.
I love me some almonds.
Also, I think Canned Heat was there.
Of course. Of course.
I think they were. I will fact check that before this episode's published, but I think they were.
Oh my God. Canned Heat has very quickly become like our red rum, where it just keeps showing
What does it mean?
What is going on here? There's clearly a deeper meaning here.
And the plan is to hold the festival over a number of days for Woodstock 50, right? Provide campground locations on site because they wanted camping. That was something. It seems like Lang got really hung up on the camping thing.
Oh, yeah?
This is foreshadowing. And there were also going to be multiple stages for artists, the plans of which shuffled a bit because pictures of the event were taken in winter, which did not accurately portray the space available in August. So they had to kind of shuffle around their stage design a little bit, too.
That feels like something that could have been fixed with, hear me out now, more time.
Or just finding pictures of it
online
in spring. Yes.
Yeah.
You can fire up Google and probably find pretty decent pictures. I think at one point
this is 2019. There's Google Maps.
It's 2017, but still, yes.
2017.
Well, they're using Google Maps, from my understanding, is where some of these pictures came from.
There's a date slider on the bottom left of the
screen. But I think they had to eventually use that because they first got ones of winter, I think, is what's happening here. The article's a little bit vague, but I think they got winter pictures and they had to go to Google Maps.
Okay.
So they didn't have like on-site pictures, but
okay.
It's just such a strange little tidbit.
All right.
Also, apparently, for the smaller stage at the event, that's the one they wanted to put the Woodstock alumni on. So they wanted to shove all the old people onto the whole stage, apparently.
That's really funny.
Which, I mean, to be fair, maybe they wanted to be more like, you can be more intimate with these artists and yada yada.
I'm sure that's how they pitched it to him.
Probably. Or you can go and see Jay-Z on the big stage.
Yeah.
I think, just moving on.
Do you want to see Beyonce on the big screen, or do you want to see Canned Heat on a tiny little intimate stage?
I mean, I know which one I'd pick, and it's definitely Canned Heat, but I'm not the average person. Also, they did want Beyonce, funnily enough, and they didn't get her. You were very close.
I kind of figured she was
She was actually on the top list of people to get,
I was going to say, it's 2019, it's Woodstock, you're going to try to get Beyonce. Yep. I get it.
And now, a new company was formed, Woodstock 50 LLC. It's formed by some of Lang's friends who worked in the hotel business that he had become close with and convinced to fund this venture, and they hired him as a producer to avoid any copyright issues.
Oh, goody.
They partnered with a company called Dentsu Aegis, I think it's how you pronounce it, an international multimedia advertising firm which is a subsidiary of Dentsu, which is the largest advertising firm in Japan, and they've got their hands in basically everything when it comes to advertising. I think their market cap is something ridiculous, like $10 billion.
Jesus, okay.
Like, they are a huge, huge company, like gigantic.
Wild. All right.
Lang at first reached out to Dentsu during the early planning phases, officially partnered with Dentsu in November of 2018, with Dentsu putting up just below $50 million for the event.
Good God.
How much it cost them in the end, I don't know, but
that's just the first payment.
I think that was just I think that's what their goal for cap was, because I don't think they just gave them $50 million right out the gate. I think that was to kind of like faucet the money in slowly. But still, there has to be a pretty big upfront payment.
That's a lot of money.
And even over however many months, that's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
It should be noted that outside of Lang himself, few if any of the people involved in the project had first-hand experience running a festival, just like that thing that happened in the 60s.
Oh,
just
my
like
God.
that thing.
Oh, my God.
At least when it comes to the higher-ups. This was supposed to be Dentsu's first big venture into music festivals and kind of get there into that sort of sphere.
Good. That's a good start.
And Lang, of course, always having big ideas, even mentioned that such a partnership could lead to an annual Woodstock held in different locations across the globe. This was supposed to be the start of something big and beautiful.
You know what this is starting to sound like? This is sounding like the 5th Transformers movie at this point, where it's like, we have all these ideas. No one cares.
Yeah, at that point, it became kind of just started sputtering in place, because that's actually, fittingly, it's about when the partnership is officially signed is when things start to really go south.
Oh, good.
Yes. Now, not to say that no one knew what they were doing, because they actually did hire a company called Superfly, which had run many big festivals before to like run all the day-to-day stuff. Like, they hired the right people.
So
they've
still got
aspect.
some competency.
Yes, and of course, marketing is what Dentsu does, and they do it really well. Like,
right.
There are some really good, I'm sure, competent people involved in this.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's just the thing is that at the higher upper echelon level, Michael Lang has a lot of experience, but he also has a lot of experience doing things really bad and really good.
Yeah, there's a difference between someone who has a lot of experience doing something correctly and a person who has a lot of experience just doing the
fumbling
thing.
Into success, like many things he did.
Yep.
So yes, this is also where the communication starts to really break down.
Oh no.
This is the problem. There is constant fighting over the number of attendees expected for the event.
Oh my God! It's literally the same thing as Alaska.
Are
you
kidding me? It's just the same thing. Really, the story of this event that didn't happen is just everything that could have killed the other Woodstocks finally all came to a head in the worst possible way and completely killed this one.
Their luck finally just ran out.
Yes, and I'm getting to the point where we're going to talk about the legacy of the other shows and how they made it harder to have this one.
Oh,
strap in.
Oh, let's go.
So Lang is very set on getting 125,000 people, and he consistently thinks they can get more, up to 150,000, if not more.
Okay.
The company Dentsu hired, which again is Superfly, they were hired, by the way, in January of 2019.
Okay.
So still a few months out. That's right about the time where they can really start planning the show. So good timing on that one. Superfly consistently says they can safely aim for 65,000, which is about half of what Lang wants.
Okay.
Right? Turnout obviously affects projected revenue, right?
Yep.
Which is a major factor in what's going on here.
Yeah.
Because I believe when they signed the contract with Dentsu, he was using the higher number.
Of course he was.
Then Superfly comes in, they say no, 65. Also, there was supposed to be, I believe, an additional $22 million in revenue from corporate sponsorships.
Oh, yeah.
And most of the articles I read did not make any mention of corporate sponsorships. So I don't know how many they got.
Oh.
I'm assuming there were a few, but given the show didn't happen, I don't think they got anything from it, by the way. So, given that there's all this argument over projected revenue and the budget, Lang also refused to change the budget for artists.
Oh, no.
And, we're getting there. This back and forth goes on essentially the entire time, and it causes confusion for the racetrack, which, by the way, the racetrack being the venue has to send in the application for permits to have the show.
Right.
And if they don't know how many people are coming, they can't get the permit. And because the two major organizations, Woodstock 50 and Dentsu, keep going back and forth, as does Superfly thrown in there, and everyone else, no one can move with this show.
So they're just sitting there.
They're sitting there arguing.
Eventually we'll get something.
For what sounds like just weeks. Like, things will happen and they won't happen and they will and they won't. So going into 2019 and getting into the middle of the year, they need those government permits. They need the racetrack to submit for the permits. They never end up getting the permits. And construction of the needed facilities, such as the campground, which was estimated to possibly take at least a year to build, either was heavily delayed or never began. So it's really bad.
Oh, that's not a good start, guys.
Yes. Now, the racetrack, again, Watkins Glen, did apply for a permit for 75,000 attendees because they bumped it up a little bit, thinking that they could handle it. And Woodstock 50 continued to push for more people even after they sent in the application, so I don't know if you can, given New York law, legally have more people there or not. I think no. I assume.
I'm willing to assume that probably no.
Not. So I don't know why they kept doing that, because that seems like once you have an application sent for 75, I'm assuming all parties involved have signed off on that.
Yep.
Why would you keep saying we can do more? That seems like you're just like messing, like you're just wasting time.
Yeah,
and gumming up the works.
The boat has sailed at that point.
Yeah,
you
just
need
go
to
for
move
the
on.
75.
Yeah,
you're getting more than the lowest estimate you got.
Take it as a win.
Take it, yeah. Like, go for it.
This is the 50th anniversary of Woodstock, for God's sake.
You'll make
Anyone
money off
showing
merch.
up is a win.
Yeah, you'll make it. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
You could figure this out. But it's funny because they're really haunted by the red tape that actually started because of the first Woodstock Festival in 69.
Gotta love it.
Because, like, those mass gathering permits and the things related to camping were implemented because of Woodstock.
Which is just so...
So basically, because they had a poorly planned show in 1969, their poorly planned show in 2019 got canceled because they can't get the permits that these same people forced into existence.
I like to think that somewhere in New York there was like some like small town mayor who was there for like the original 69 concert and was like, I'll make sure this never happens again in my town. And then he is in 2019, 87 years old, geriatric, and he's like, I knew this day would come.
I'm gonna cancel Woodstock.
No. You want 150 at your venue? 75. Take it or leave it.
You know, Ryan, you've actually foreshadowed something that's going to be happening a little bit later.
Oh, goody.
It'll be close to your little skit there, which I like. That was very good. I like your old mayor voice.
Thank you. It was weirdly southern for being in New York, but you know what? It was an accent I could do.
He's a reverse snowbird.
All right,
he was only there in the winter.
Respect that for him. Good for him.
Shout out to all you reverse snowbirds out there, all 5 of you. God bless you. So basically, after all of the red tape and the issues with the government and the New York courts and the New York Department of, I think, Health and Safety or whatever it's called, sorry, I didn't write it down, but basically the thing that is supposed to make sure events don't end up with people dying.
Yeah.
Really, really gumming up the works here for seemingly legitimate reasons.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, God, you'd almost think there's like a history of these things going wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of which, this all leads to Dentsu losing faith in Woodstock 50, seeing it as unviable financially.
Uh-oh.
On April 29th, just a few months before we were supposed to go on, right?
Uh-oh.
Dentsu announced the festival is canceled and takes $17.8 million out of the shared bank account between it and Woodstock 50, leaving less than $24,000 in the account.
Oh my God.
That's a huge windfall.
That is insane.
This actually blindsided Lang, and the public announcement of this is when the artists first heard the show was canceled.
Oh.
Apparently everyone on the Woodstock side things didn't know this was going to randomly happen.
Uh-oh.
So
Dentsu was just like,
no.
Let's just get out of here while the
Japanese businessman ran for the hills.
Yep, absolutely.
However, Lang, always 100% optimistic.
Of course.
And always believing firmly in his belief to somehow pull things just out of nowhere.
Well, I mean, hey, it worked for Woodstock 69 so well. Surely it'll work great in
work
2019.
this time, right? Well, it's funny because he pushes forward with a new financial backer, the investment bank Oppenheimer & Co.
You're kidding me.
That's their actual name.
You're kidding.
This show cannot possibly bomb.
That is, oh my God. That's like needing heart surgery, and your doctor walks in, and his name is Dr. Purple Heart.
It's something so ridiculous.
Oh
like
my
that.
God.
Maybe like Dr. like Heart HART or something.
Yep,
it's like
you're just
that.
Like, no, come on now.
Come on, don't we have anyone better?
Surely there had to be someone. Oh my God. Okay.
Now there was a court case, which I believe was decided in May,
Mm-hmm.
which is pretty fast turnaround because again April 29th is when.
Yeah,
this
that's really quick for court.
So a judge later ruled that Dentsu had no right to cancel the event, but this didn't do much to put faith back into Woodstock. This is also when artists start to first really pull out. But also the judge also ruled Dentsu didn't need to give back the money, the $17.8 million. So they couldn't cancel it, but they don't have to pay you for it either.
Great, awesome.
And Superfly pulled out.
Oh, goody.
Rough. So now there's a new financial backer. I'm assuming they have to scramble to hire another firm to run it.
Almost certainly.
And now Oppenheimer is involved because it's all going to bomb and explode in your face. And also, speaking of artists, let's get into them really quick because there's kind of two parallel stories going on here. There's the business side and the artist side of things.
It's like the actual Oppenheimer movie.
Is it?
Because in that movie, there was 3 plot lines going on at the same time.
Oh, that's what you meant. Okay, I thought there was going to be a little bit, it's like, was Woodstock in Oppenheimer? Did I miss it?
Oh, that would have been great.
Maybe Oppenheimer 2 can be at Woodstock, and it's an alternate future where
Oppenheimer
he bombs
2 Electric Boogaloo.
Where he bombs the festival.
Oh my God, it's just an alt-reality movie.
I'd watch it.
I would watch
honest.
it. Absolutely.
That sounds really
Warner
fun.
Brothers, call us.
I have an idea, and I only need $1 million for it.
I only need it. Believe me, I will shoot it and make it look great.
If the Japanese could throw $50 million at Woodstock 50, they can throw one at me. I will follow through. I am better than at that. Okay, I can. Unironically, I'd do it too.
Absolutely. Why would you not? I mean, come on.
Also, so getting back to the artists, yes? They missed the deadline for having artists sign on, which was January 1st, 2019.
That seems like a big deal.
In fact, they missed it so badly there was not a single artist signed on by the deadline.
Uh-oh, that's a really big deal.
Remember, Dentsu inked the deal in November of 2018, months beforehand, and still no one has been lined up or signed.
Yeah.
They start finalizing the artist list in February, so they do get on track. And they pay every single artist up front.
Oh, well, I mean, they technically sort of learned a lesson from the first Woodstock, but I feel like they may have ignored some of the broader lessons.
They ignored the budget lesson.
Yeah.
Because, we're going to get into it.
Okay.
Some of the big name artists are paid over $1 million up front. And this quickly leads to millions of dollars flying out the door for a festival that has not gotten a confirmed location or constructed facilities.
Oh, no.
Because they keep saying it's going to be at the racetrack, and they have not confirmed they can actually have a festival on the racetrack.
Right.
So they are throwing money, at people, hoping that they're going to have a show.
Oh, my God. Okay, yep.
Out of the Woodstock alumni, they get Santana.
Pretty good.
Canned Heat.
Again. My God. Oh, guys.
They were going to miss that payday, buddy.
God,
Harvey Mandel needs a paycheck.
Just Canned Heat. They're basically just Bucky Rogers from Captain America, where they just get de-thawed every 10, 15 years. We're bringing Woodstock back. We need you boys.
They were there.
If there's ever a Woodstock 3000, I guarantee you Canned Heat will be there.
On robot bodies like Futurama.
Absolutely.
That'll be good. There's also John Fogerty, the Grateful Dead as Dead and Company, as they tour under now.
Okay.
Country Joe McDonald, and others had all signed on, which is actually a really decent number of artists from the original show, given it was 50 years later. And a significant number of the performers from the original Woodstock were dead by 1979. So
that's pretty good.
They actually did pretty good.
Dang good.
They did pretty good. There are also a few artists, such as Robert Plant, who didn't make the original show. He planned to be at Woodstock 50. So, they're kind of rounding out the set. And there were many, many more modern artists for the list. They include Greta Van Fleet.
Good.
Rival Sons.
Never heard of.
The Black Keys.
Great.
Cage the Elephant.
All right.
The Lumineers.
Ugh.
Miley Cyrus. Chance the Rapper.
Okay.
Jay-Z.
Kind of cool.
Vince Staples.
Never heard of.
And more.
Cool.
All opinions of Ryan's on music are officially endorsed by Side Stories Podcast.
I speak for this podcast and all other guests who have been on this podcast as a whole for our
nothing but
taste.
Musical taste, yes.
Yep.
Lists of artists I found typically had at least 25 acts per day.
That's intense.
And even after that huge chunk of names, every poster I saw teases and more.
Oh, well, of course.
Yes, of course. But still, if these people are on the poster, I can only assume every single one of them got paid in advance or was at least in talks.
Money. And
so,
if even some of them were just $1 million,
yes,
that's a lot.
That's a lot.
Money.
Think about, remember, the company put up little less than $50 million. If you're paying, if you paid,
if this is over what, like a 3-day week?
It's 3 days. Yes, it's
and
3
there's
days.
25 acts a day, and you're paying
it's 75
half of them $1 million each. That's already blown your budget.
Yes. Oh, people were screaming about this, by the way, but Lang just kept pushing, we need to have the artists.
Yep,
we need to have them. So he kept pushing and pushing and pushing. Also, Lang's dream list of acts, before they had to shave it down into what it became, like the starting list of acts had 4 tiers. I couldn't find the full list. I'm sure it's out there. But he had big name acts like Stevie Wonder, Drake, Bruno Mars, and others, all of whom would not have been cheap. So think about it. What we got, all paid up front, was the shaved down version.
God.
And he wanted weird things, like he wanted like a Grateful Dead / Miley Cyrus crossover, which apparently the Dead confirmed they were never asked about that.
Why?
He wanted Bruno Mars to do, I think it was Sly and the Family Stone tribute. He wanted Green Day to be there to perform all of American Idiot. That at least kind of makes sense.
Actually, yeah, that's kind of cool.
And they were released at 94, so I think that's the only artist from 94 he asked back, actually. I think. I mean, now to be fair, I don't have the complete legal documents list. I'm sure there are plenty of artists that were asks that were just never, responded or made it.
Yep.
But still, that's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people.
And I'm not counting all of the other artists you've definitely never heard of that were on this list, because there's a lot I'd never heard of.
Okay, I have to ask a genuine question.
Go ahead.
Michael Lang.
Yes.
Do we think, hear me out now.
Uh-huh.
Do we think that somehow this man has either gone completely unhinged, or somehow there was some sort of braking mechanism that was there for the previous Woodstocks with him that's just no longer there? Because this feels like a train that just has not been told to stop.
I honestly do feel that as like he got older and probably more like nostalgic for the hippie boomer days and all, he seems to become much more idealistic and increasingly overly optimistic,
which makes sense because like having to go back to like the Woodstock 99, a lot of the interviews I saw him from that, you could really see it because the interviews from like were from like 2018 2019, so you can really see it in his face, this like nostalgia for how perfect everything was.
He was in the twilight of his life. So
sorry, Mikey.
Eventually, let's get back to the business side of things now. Due to all of these disputes and lack of payment, Watkins Glen announces it is no longer hosting the event on June 10th. So not only did one of the partners announce it was canceled, then they said it's not canceled for Woodstock side of things.
And then the judge was like, no, legally it's technically not canceled yet.
Yes, but we don't have to fund it, so I guess Dentsu's just out now.
Yep.
And now they don't have a venue.
Oh, no.
And Ling and company start scrambling for a new location, which they actually find very quickly, shockingly.
Really?
Yes, Vernon Downs in, aptly, Vernon, New York.
Cool.
A horse race track and resort where they have the needed facilities and space for 65,000 concert goers. And the thing is, there wouldn't be any camping, which Lang does mention he's very sad about.
Okay.
But okay, you don't have to worry about camping permits or any of this other stuff. The show is still on at the very least, right?
A win's a win.
And you have the facilities mostly pre-made. You just put up a little bit extra probably.
Yep.
And you're good, right?
All right.
This was too shot down, however.
Oh, no.
After 4 attempts at acquiring the needed permits were rejected.
Uh-oh.
In fact, it's kind of like the 1979 failure of having a festival sort of thing we talked about, where basically a bunch of town councils met and other people started meeting saying, please don't put this in my backyard. Holy crap, I remember the first one.
I really don't want it to go through this again.
In fact, Langell starts making like insane promises about having like private security protect like homes nearby.
Yeah, because that went so well in Woodstock's 99.
Yeah, so they actually start making more and more ridiculous promises at this time. I think there's at least transcripts of a lot of the meetings that they had because I've read stuff from them. I think you can read the full transcripts out there. And if not footage, I'll have to double check. But I was mostly just reading articles and stuff that summarized all of this, so I apologize. I didn't go trying to find the I found primary sources, all right. I found a lot of primary sources, but just not raw footage. But it might exist. So now, because they do not have the permits, well, it's partially due to the Woodstock name and partially due to the fact that they are lacking time because they have barely over a month to get everything ready now.
Yeah, that's a really quick turnaround.
Yeah, for 65,000 people to come and say hi.
That's a stupid quick turnaround.
It may have been possible to still hold Woodstock 50, even if the little time due to the existing facilities. But without the needed permits from the Vernon community, there is no show. Because you can't have a show without the permits.
No.
Which is partially a problem that they caused by having the first Woodstock.
Yep. I love how this is just coming full circle.
Yeah,
you really can't write this.
Everything that was a problem in 1969 is becoming more of a problem from, I'm trying to have another one in 79, and all the town councils saying no, and all the fear, and
I guarantee you there is some alternate universe where Woodstock never happened, and this is all just like some sort of alt reality thing that like some author wrote a series of books detailing about like
what it could have looked like.
Yeah, and everyone's like, oh, come on, man. Be realistic here. That's not
No one would
happen.
ever do that.
No, you can't have stuff come this full circle. It's too dumb. That doesn't happen in real life.
But it does.
But it does, and it did.
Also, I believe Vernon Downs, this concert was shaved down to 2 days. I believe. So they're already trying to kind of shave it a little bit. But
all right.
No dice. They can't. Nothing that they do is going to like make this work.
That could be a problem.
Yep. So that gets canceled.
So they threw in the towel, right?
No.
Darn
There
it.
was one final effort.
Oh my God, let's hear it.
There is a place in Columbia, Maryland called the Meriwether Post Pavilion.
That's where I thought that sentence was going. I genuinely thought for a second they were like, well, we can't have it in America. We're going to Columbia. They won't have the concert permits there. It'll be fine.
In Woodstock in the Amazon.
We'll just cut down a swath of the rainforest. We'll use the wood from the rain trees we cut down to make the stage, and it'll be great.
Well, to be fair, come to think of it, I think Columbia's more mountainy than stuff. But I mean,
you're correct.
But
there's still trees there.
Oh, for sure. There's trees everywhere. But no, they did not go to Columbia to cut down trees. They
Dang.
went to Columbia, Maryland.
God, that would have been great, though.
And funnily enough, it actually looks, I looked at pictures of it, looks a lot like the Bethel Woods Art Center.
That's cool.
I thought that was funny. But
Very
yes,
cool.
it's again just kind of a bigger version of the Blue Stem Amphitheater. So, like, okay, this venue can hold an estimated 18 to 50,000 people. So it keeps going down. Sizable by all accounts, but a far cry from Lang's massive over 100,000 people dream in a huge festival setting over multiple days, because now they shaved it down to 1 day.
Yep. Oh, no.
Yes. This is, 1 day event, and they shaved that down to a benefit show with free tickets.
What?
Yes. In fact, with the move to Maryland, artists could not be held to their contracts, which they admitted. So basically, everyone is released from their contracts, and the promoters are basically just asking politely if any of the artists can please come to the show, since they'd already been paid for that time.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Hey, listen, I know that technically, legally you're not required to show up to our show because it's not in the same place that legally you're required to play at, but, we did give you $1 million. So it would be really great if you could show up for our benefit concert.
That's basically what they're doing.
That's amazing.
By the way, as this...
Just standing outside of freaking, like, Canned Heat's, like, house with, like, John Cusack with a radio. Just, baby, come back. You can blame it all on me.
And apparently no one was willing to fully commit. Not even
Canned Heat.
I know.
Not even.
Not
oh, my
even
God.
Canned
You
Heat.
know it's over. The dream is dead and over when
can't
Canned
get
Heat's like,
Canned
God,
Heat.
dude. I like to imagine that Canned Heat showed up at his house one day and was like, dude, the dream's
It's
dead.
over.
Just walk away,
It's over.
man.
This actually, I'm not kidding you, all this stuff incredibly ticked off Country Joe McDonald, who's been like the biggest like Woodstock, like booster ever.
Really?
He really seemed to really dislike Michael Lang after all
I'm
of this.
sure.
After being very cordial with him for quite a while, which is sad.
That's really funny.
Yes. So after all of this, they couldn't get anyone to show up to a benefit concert for 1 day.
Oh, shocking.
And artists started really pulling out, I think, either right before it got canceled the first time by Dentsu or right after. The first one to drop was the Black Keys, actually. They got paid
Good for them.
They got paid $1.5 million to do nothing.
Good for them. Absolutely good for them.
Yep, good for them.
The best part is I'm willing to bet they probably put that money to like good equipment or something like that. You know what?
Their
Proud
next
of them
album.
for it.
Yeah. And also, speaking of equipment, well,
oh no.
Where was I going with equipment? Sorry. I have wait, no, I had it.
Give him a minute. Let him cook.
Let me cook.
Let him cook.
Let me cook.
Let him cook.
Cooking?
Cooking.
I lost it.
Nope.
Okay,
It's
we're
burnt.
gonna we're gonna cut that.
We cut it too much. We cooked it too much.
But yes, they couldn't find. I remember now. Well,
all right.
Well, I was close. Michael Lang basically said, speaking of what they put money towards, Michael Lang basically said, "Could you please put 10% towards their?" I think it's called head count. It's basically the nonpartisan like get out the vote thing. He was supporting. He basically asked artists to please give money to the charity that I support too.
Please.
As far as I know, no one did.
Please.
Yes. So it just basically it went from giant corporate business deal based off of an iconic concert to e-begging.
Yep.
Essentially is what he's doing.
Oh my God.
And
GoFundMe Woodstock 50th anniversary edition.
Yeah, I think Michael Lang was saying towards the end like he still needed $30 million or something. I think that was at Vernon Downs, but even still he kept saying they needed millions of dollars to make it work, and it wasn't coming along.
Oh my God.
Yeah. On July 31st, 2019, Woodstock 50 was officially canceled, rendering it completely dead. A few weeks before it was going to happen. 2 weeks.
I am just so brokenhearted that it didn't work out for him. Like everything we've heard about this story so far, I can't believe it
didn't all magically happen.
Yeah, it didn't all magically pan out.
Like it did the first time and
the second time,
and the third time,
and the fifth time.
Yeah.
Man, I guess your luck really does have to run out eventually.
It does. And that, my dear friends, leads us back to where we began this episode, Bethel Woods Center for the Arts, which held its own Woodstock commemoration events and concerts over the anniversary of Woodstock, which featured Santana, Ringo Starr, the Doobie Brothers, and the Tedeschi Trucks Band. playing shows over the weekend.
Cool.
Yeah, apparently it was great.
Yeah, it's honestly, that's a good cast list. And I bet
solid stuff.
Giving that Michael Lang wasn't associated with it,
it went well.
Probably went pretty well.
Yeah, as far as I know. I don't know if they actually called it any sort. I don't know if they name dropped Woodstock at all at that show, but as far as I know, it wasn't related to Michael Lang at all. Maybe he did some licensing like with 2009, not sure.
Yeah.
But it had very little to do with him because it was only 2 weeks after his event got canceled. But shout out to the Bethel Woods. They actually know how to plan stuff.
Yeah.
And they're having Limp Bizkit later this year.
Good
so
for them.
God bless them and God bless Fred Durst, who came out laughing because he gets to perform at Bethel Woods this year.
Yes, he does.
And he didn't have to deal with Woodstock ever again.
Nope. Good for him.
And unfortunately, this is where our hero, Michael Lang, passes on into eternity because he passed away on January 8th, 2022. Don't you get me copyright struck by John Williams. I don't need that. They're going to recognize those horns if you're... Okay, all right. All right, that's enough. Simmer down. Simmer. There you go. Stop it. You stop that right now. And that's where the story of Woodstock ends, right?
Right?
No.
What?
No, there's
more. There's more.
There's a tiny bit more.
No.
Do you want the Korean knockoff of Woodstock 50?
Absolutely. What?
Okay.
There was not a word in that sentence I was ready for.
You are not ready for this. So let me just briefly explain very quickly.
Uh-huh.
In 2023, there was yet another attempt to bring back Woodstock, perhaps the strangest one ever.
Oh my God.
SGC Entertainment Co. Limited acquired the IP license of Woodstock in January 2023. Now, I'm not an expert on IP law, especially over international lines, but I believe this just means that they, again, have been licensed it. That's how I saw it put in most articles, as in they did not, like, buy Woodstock, the company or anything.
Yep, they just have the ability to...
They have been licensed. There's an agreement to use the name.
Yep.
I believe, just to clarify.
Okay.
I believe Woodstock's still an American company.
Okay.
Just clarifying.
Okay.
And they wanted to recreate Woodstock in Korea for some reason.
Why Korea?
I don't know.
Is it just because of the population?
I couldn't tell you, but I do know they recreated Woodstock 50 in Korea.
Okay.
Because, much like the list of people that was criticized with Woodstock 50 of being unevocative or unhinged, or just not in the spirit of Woodstock.
Yep.
Japanese metal band Loudness was courted for headliner, which raised major controversy. I'm sure they would have rocked, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Loudness is solid. There were also issues over ticket sales, sold without confirmed artists, trouble locking down a venue. I believe it moved at least once.
Oh, okay.
Delaying the show to later dates, which definitely happened.
Yep.
And then many, many, many health and safety concerns involving permits and other issues and legal trouble with the government.
So it's Woodstock.
Yes, it was Woodstock. Now, I would like to dive more into Woodstock Korea because it's insane, but at the same time, it just happened last year. There's not that many great articles about it in English. I had to translate ones from Korean, which I don't speak, sadly. Sorry, I'm deficient in my Korean. I translated them the best I could, and that's what I gleaned from it, is that in the long and short of it, it was Woodstock 50 in Korea.
Yeah.
And really, there's not much else to say other than that's what I have access to.
Do you think that the name Woodstock is just somehow cursed?
After... Well, I mean, 2009 was the weird, like, dead cat bounce.
Yep.
Yes, I think Fred Durst actually killed Woodstock, but good for him. You know, he won in the end.
It's just like, I feel like somehow, some way, there's got to be like some sort of ancient curse or something that's been put down on the Woodstock name that keeps causing these things
Whatever,
to happen.
like, deal they pulled to, like, with some unhinged eldritch entity to make it work in the first place.
Like, whatever witch that Michael Lang sold his soul to be able to get them to work.
She came to collect.
Yeah, absolutely. The Baba Yaga was just like, I'm not doing this anymore, man.
No,
nah.
It's time to pay up. Time to pay the ferryman.
The dream is dead, man.
So, yes, that is apparently where Woodstock has ended again. We talked about the website a little bit where they're still selling Woodstock merch.
Woodstock's... the end of Woodstock. ... Question mark?
That's the thing is, like, again, just this year, last year, sorry, 2023, they tried to bring it back in Korea. Who knows? I don't know. There could be another attempt. Maybe we'll have to meet up again.
Woodstock's 60th anniversary, Zimbabwe.
At this point, I wouldn't put it past them because everyone involved in this whole thing is completely insane.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I don't know. Will there be a Woodstock 60? Who knows? We're getting close. We're getting closer.
If there is, I will be there. And I want that known.
Oh, I'll be there. And reminder, this year, 2024, marks 25 years since Woodstock 99. And remember, it took 25 years from Woodstock 69 to 1994. meaning we are at equilibrium in gap for space between Woodstocks. There will be more space between Woodstock 99 and the next Woodstock, if there ever is one, than there is between 94 and 1969.
That's actually kind of amazing.
Yes, so unless someone gets the ball rolling here,
come on, kids.
This will be the longest the world has gone without an official Woodstock.
The world needs a disaster concert festival to point and laugh at. We can't let this dream
We already
die.
had Fire Festival.
Yeah, but that wasn't funny like Woodstock was funny.
That's true. It was funny in a different way.
It was an ironic kind of funny.
Yes,
this was
a
just dramatic
funny.
kind of funny.
This is just funny. So, yes, do we have any final thoughts on how have your thoughts on Woodstock changed since you've gone this journey, Ryan?
Well,
or are they exactly the same?
See, that's the thing, is my thoughts on Woodstock 99 still largely remain the same in that it's hilarious and objectively should be talked about more in the zeitgeist just because of how poetic of an event it is.
It was great, and Fred Durst did nothing wrong.
Did nothing wrong. I am an unironic Fred Durst apologist.
I am too, I think.
But for the other ones, I'm just kind of blown away because for the longest time I knew the poetry that came with Woodstock 99 and how just, good of a story that is and how self-contained. But now getting to see how deep it all runs and how perfectly the story ends with a perfect little bow of Woodstock 2019 just getting crapped on for all the reasons all the other ones should have. It's just beautiful, and I'm going to say it. I'm happy. I'm really, really happy and really, really glad.
If this is how the story of Woodstock ends, it'll be like, that's the fitting ending.
Honestly,
is that
it's the ending it deserves.
All of the crap and all of the kind of earned but also unearned cultural legacy just died in one big fell swoop that was caused by the same people who started it.
Absolutely. It's just, to quote the great George Lucas, it's like poetry. It rhymes.
And this truly was a saga for the ages.
Absolutely.
Truly. Well, I think that's all we have for the day, folks.
Yeah, that was beautiful. I have a tear in my eye, frankly.
This was a great series. Thank you, Ryan, for joining me.
I
really loved doing
me.
this. This was very fun.
Hopefully we can do more.
Oh, absolutely. If a big info dump on Woodstock, Korea in English ever happens one day, I'll call you back.
Thanks, man.
We'll
Appreciate
do
you.
And of course, we can always do many, many other topics in the wide, fun world of human history.
I'm so down.
Infinite possibilities, Ryan.
Make sure to leave a comment in the down below, kids, if you want to see Ryan Moody come back for another podcast.
Please just start spamming Ryan. No, Ryan Stock. Ryan Stock.
Ryan Stock. Ryan Stock.
If you want him back, 10,000 retweets, and I'll have Ryan back. If I don't get it, he's canceled.
That's
just
funny.
like Woodstock 50. It needs about $30 million for it to
I need a
come
small
back.
loan of $30 million so I can come back to the podcast.
Well, Ryan, I don't think I'm going to get that anytime soon, so that's okay. I'll maybe have you back anyways.
All right.
You're the canteen of this podcast. I just can't get rid of you.
I'm the cantina of this podcast?
Canned heat.
Canned heat of
what
this
else
podcast?
would I... Cantina.
I don't know. I went Star Wars with it for a second. I'm sorry.
Stop turning this into a Star Wars bit. We're trying to end the podcast. No, don't. Stop. John Williams is going to sue me. All these John Williams songs. Gosh, stop that. I don't need that now.
John Williams, if you'd like to join us on the podcast.
Please be on the podcast. I would really love to hear your
Also,
stories.
please don't sue us because of my idiocy.
Please don't.
Please.
At least not me.
At least not Aaron. He has actual money. Don't sue me either because I'm poor.
You have very different reasons not to sue us.
Yeah.
Okay, well, anyways, before this goes more off the rails like Woodstock, let's just end it here. Good night, folks. Thank you for joining us. It's
Thank
been
you for
great.
listening.
Wonderful time having you all, and I guess we'll see you on the next one, which will be soon.
Stay beautiful, kids.
Stay beautiful. Stay gold. Have a great day. And if we've learned nothing else, folks, if you're going to bathe in mud, especially at a Woodstock event, make sure it's actually mud.
Make crystal clear sure. Go to get a test done. Professional lab level tests done before you dive in. Please, I'm begging you.
Because much like Woodstock, you'll come out covered in many, many, many terrible
memories.
Memories, yes. Good night.
Good night, kids.